Hello, I am Pramod Kumar. Today we will study macroeconomics. The chapter is national income accounting and the topic is some macroeconomic identities. So, first of all, we would like to focus on the definition of GDP. GDP measures the aggregate production of final goods and services taking place within the domestic economy during a year. Gross domestic product GDP measures final products, goods and services produced in an economy, within an economy during the period of 1 year. So gross domestic product, value of final goods and services taking place within a domestic economy within the period of a year, right? So, suppose India's GDP is 1000 crore, right? But you will find that several Indians are working abroad, several foreigners are working in India. So, what about that? Because that is GDP is taking place within the domestic economy, right? So what happens? Suppose 1000 crore is the GDP of India and several thousand people work outside India, they earn there. So whether their income should be included here or not. And several foreigners earn in India by employing their factors of production. So where that should be deducted from Indian GDP or not. So for that we have one gross national product, right? Gross national product, what happens? This is GDP plus Indian factors of production earning in the rest of the world. That is added here, and foreign factors of production working and earning in India, that is subtracted. Then we get gross national product, right? Gross national product. So once again, GDP measures aggregate production of goods and services produced within a domestic economy during the period of a year, right? Thousands of Indians work abroad, earn. Thousands of foreigners work in India and they earn. So when we add in GDP what is earned by the Indian factors of production abroad and we subtract rest of the world factors of production working and earning in India, then we get gross national product, right? And if we deduct GNP minus depreciation, then we get net national product. We had already discussed in the last video, the moment gross is there, it includes depreciation. When net is there, it excludes depreciation. So, gross national product minus depreciation is equal to net national product. Now, what happens that we may think that GNP less depreciation, because depreciation doesn't go to anybody. We have already discussed depreciation is an accounting entry. It is a provision made for ultimate replacement of fixed assets, capital goods, right? It's an annual allowance towards wear and tear, depreciation of capital goods. So it doesn't accrue to the households. So we come to that net national product accrues to the households. That money goes to the households. But there also there is a catch, right? In net national product, what happens? Indirect taxes levied by the government are included. So what happens? Indirect taxes levied by the government don't go to the public, don't go to the households. It goes to the government. So we need to subtract that NNP minus indirect taxes, right? Right? Then what happens? Households also get subsidies on so many things. As you know, when we buy our domestic LPG gas cylinder, many of us get subsidy on that. It may be of 800 rupees and we would be getting 200-250 rupees of subsidy on that. So that subsidy needs to be, what we need to do? Right? So see here, net national product, we deduct indirect taxes minus, suppose net national product is of India is 10,000 crore minus indirect taxes are how much? 2,000 crore less subsidy is 1,000 crore. So we come back to 1,000, 10,000 minus 2 minus 1, 1,000 is equal to 9,000 crore. So what is this 9,000 crore? This 9,000 crore is, what is this? National income, or we can say net national product at market prices, right? Net national product at market prices. Now we go net national product was at market prices when we had deducted depreciation. Here GNP minus depreciation is equal to NNP, net national product at market prices, and when we deduct from NNP indirect taxes minus subsidies, then we get national income, net national product at factor cost, right? So we are deducting whatever doesn't accrue to the households and adding whatever households get, right? So at this level also, at this level, there are certain items which we need to take care of. What are those items? When firms earn profits, they don't distribute 100% of the profits to the shareholders, stakeholders, right? They retain some of the profits, which is called undistributed profit, right? So here what we are doing, we are trying to arrive at a position where we get the figure what money finally lies in the hands of the households to spend, right? So national income, we deduct undistributed profits because it is not going to the households, it is being retained by the firms, plus net interest payment made by the households. Suppose I am a household, you are a household, we have borrowed money, so we need to make some interest payment, right, on the borrowed money. Plus corporate tax, government levies corporate tax department on the firms. So that money also doesn't go to the households, it goes to the government. And what we do, these are the transfers taking place to the households, right? So out of this area, here what has been done? Undistributed profit not going to the households, it is going to the companies, being retained by the companies. Net interest payment made by the households, it is not remaining with the households, it is going out of the households. Plus corporate taxes, it is levied by the government, this money doesn't go to the households. And then we minus transfer payment to households. What are those transfer payments? Transfer payments like pensions, some gifts, some awards, some prizes, whatever is coming in, because households have received that, right? So this portion, national income, NNP at factor cost, it comes to, this portion becomes personal income of the household, and these are the things which don't accrue to the personal households, right? Then this personal household or personal income also is not freely available to me 100%. I need to pay personal taxes, and I need to pay make non-personal expenses like some penalty, some fine I have to pay. So finally I am left with personal domestic disposable income. Personal disposable income. This is the income which I can use for consumption and or savings, right? Or I can 100% consume, or I can consume 90% or 75% and save 0%. Here I can save 10%, here I can save 25%, right? So this is the personal disposable income which remains in my hand, and I am free to use it 100% for consumption, 0% for saving, or 90% for consumption, 10% for saving, 75% for consumption and 25% for savings, right? So this is the main thing. Now we come to goods and prices. What are goods and prices? Suppose let us take last 2 years, right? What were the last 2 years? 2018, 2019, right? Suppose this year India's GDP was 10,000 crore, and this year it became 15,000 crore after 1 year, right? So does it mean that production has gone up by 50%? 2018 India's GDP was 10,000 crore. 2019 after 1 year it becomes 15,000 crore, 50% up. So does it mean that production in India has increased by 50%, 5,000 crores? No, not necessarily. There could be a likelihood that the prices have gone up by 50% or 40%, 30%, 25%, and the rest has been made up by the increase in production. So how we can know it? How do we know it? Which is the, how do we know what is the, this is called nominal GDP or GDP, right? Nominal means at current market prices. Gross domestic product arrived at, calculated at current market prices, is called GDP or nominal GDP. So in case from 2018 to 2019 GDP has increased by 10,000 crores, from 10 to 15,000 crores, and the prices have gone up by 50%. It means there is, what is there? Though GDP has increased, though nominal GDP has increased, though GDP at current market prices has increased by 50%, there is no change in real GDP. Right? Earlier I used to get 100 rupees per month salary, and I used to buy 10 kg of rice in 2018. In 2019, that 10 rupee per kg rice has become 15 rupees per kg rice. 50% increase in the price, right? So my consumption will go down by that much ratio. It means real GDP has gone down. GDP oblique nominal GDP oblique GDP at current market prices has gone up, but real GDP has gone down because whatever increase is there in the GDP, all of it is accounted for by the increase in prices, not in the level of production. Right? Now suppose 2018 10,000 crore, 2019 15,000 crore, there is no change in the prices. So it means GDP has gone up by 50% on account of increase in production of goods and services in the economy. Right? So how do we calculate that real GDP? What we do, we take a base year. Suppose 2018 is the base year, right? So in this kind of thing, suppose I write here in capital, this is the nominal GDP, and I write here in a small, this is the real GDP, right? Suppose this 10,000 to 15,000 crore is purely on account of increase in prices. So what happens? GDP is, what is the GDP? What is the GDP? This GDP means nominal or GDP at current market prices. This is 15,000, right? And this, what is this? Current market prices GDP is this, right? And this, what is this? Real GDP. So real GDP, there is no change because prices have increased by 50%, right? So we can take the other way around. Prices remain the same. In this calculation, we keep the quantity or the output as fixed, so that we can know about the change in whether GDP has increased by change in prices or change in production, right? Suppose everything is as per the change in production, rate remains the same. Rate in 2019 remains exactly as per rate in 2018. So what is the real GDP? What is the real GDP? This is the nominal GDP or GDP at market prices. So 15,000 upon 10,000. This is the ratio. So GDP has increased by 1.50, has become 1.50, or 150%. Become 150% means increase of real GDP has increased by 50%, right? It was 10,000, it has become 15,000, right? And whatever increase is there, it is on account of increase in production, rate remains the same. So 15,000 divided by 10,000, 10,000 is the base year, 18, 10,000, and 15,000 is a GDP, nominal GDP at current market prices. So prices remain the same, but GDP has gone up. It means it has gone up on account of increase in production. So GDP has become 1.5 times or 150%, meaning that real GDP has grown, increased by 50%, right? Then we have, so this is called GDP deflator. 1.50 is called GDP deflator. From this we come to know what is the real GDP, whether it has gone up or come down. If gone up on account of increase in prices or increase in production. If gone down due to reduction in prices or reduction in production, GDP deflator, right? we go to consumer price index. What is the consumer price index? We take a basket of commodities bought by a representative consumer, right? We take a basket of commodities. This is the basket and this is the commodity ABC. These are the three commodities. They are bought by a representative customer, right? Not all real customers, representative customers. This is a model, consumer price index, right? So what happens? Suppose 2018, this A was produced 10 kgs, B was produced 15 kgs and C was produced 5 kgs. 2018, rate was 10 rupees, 15 rupees, 5 rupees, right? So 100, 225 and 25. So 350 was the price of this basket, right? 2018, this basket is A, B, C, three products. Suppose the economy produces only these three products and produces only 10 kgs, 15 kgs, 5 kgs, and the rate in 2018 is 10, 15, 20, 5. So it comes to 350 rupees. So when we go to 2019, here basket is the same because it is called representative consumer buying this basket of commodities. Here what happens? This remains the same, right? 10 kg remains same, 15 kg remains same, 5 kg remains same. Here you see there is a change, price. From 10 it becomes 15, from 15 it becomes 20, from 5 it becomes 10, right? So here we get 150, here 300 and here 50. So 350, 500. Consumer price index in 2018 was 350, in 2019 it has gone up to 500. So what is the change? 500 upon 350, right? So the change is of into 100. Change is of around 150, so around 45%. Consumer price index has gone up. 2018, this basket of representative goods bought by a representative consumer costed 350. 1 year later it cost the same basket, the same commodity, the same quantity cost 500. So CPI, consumer price index, has gone up by approximately 45%. Things have become costly, right? Same way there is a wholesale price index, right? Wholesale price index, there is a difference between consumer price index and wholesale price index because traders load their margin. Traders buy in bulk and they sell it off to the retailers. In between they have lot of margin. So if there is a large difference between CPI and WPI, wholesale price index, you can presume that traders are charging a hefty fee in between traders. And if there is a little difference between consumer price index, wholesale price index, it means that they are charging lower, the traders in between. The people who are there in the in between, they are charging, right? Now we go to GDP and welfare. So can we say that a higher GDP indicates higher welfare of the society? It may not be true, right? Higher GDP of course will result in more money in the hands of the people, consumers. But it may not be true that higher GDP results into higher well-being of overall society. Suppose in India, in 2018, 100 citizens were there and all of them were earning 10 rupees each. So 1000 rupees was the GDP of India. In 2019, what happens? Out of these 100 people, 90 are earning 8 rupees and plus out of 100, 10 are earning 15 rupees. So how much it is? 720 plus 150. 720, and these 10 people, 90 people 8 rupees each, and these 10 people 20 rupees each, right? So 9 into 8, 720, 10 into, let us make it 30, so 300 and 720, 1020 is India's GDP, right? In 2018, India had 100 people, all of them were earning 10 rupees each, so India's GDP was 1000 rupees. Next year 2019, out of these 100 people, 90 are earning 8 rupees each, plus 10 are earning 30 rupees each. So 9 at 72 plus 10 into the 300, 1020. So GDP has gone up. GDP has gone up by 20 rupees or 2%. But how it has gone up? Out of 100 people, 90 people's income has gone down from 10 rupees per person to 8 rupees per person, and other 10 people's income has trebled. In lieu of 10, it has become 30. So though there is an overall increase in the GDP of the economy, the overall well-being of the society has gone down, because out of 100, 90 people have become worse, right? So GDP may not be an indicator of welfare or well-being of an economy. So what could be the problems in this? There could be three things, right? Equal distribution may not be there, right? So then there will not be direct correlation between the increase in GDP and increase in the welfare of the society, right? Then there are lot of non-monetary exchanges in underdeveloped developing economies. Suppose a lady cooks at home, does household work. So no economic value is assigned to her work, to her duty. So it doesn't get counted in the GDP. And there are a lot of rural places in underdeveloped developing countries where there is still barter system. I give one commodity, I get another commodity. Their money is not the medium of exchange. Commodities are medium of exchange, right? So these are not put to monetary value. So they also don't get counted in GDP. So this way GDP is undervalued. People working at home, for home, or people working at their own farms, no monetary value is attached. So GDP is underestimated, and lot of barter exchanges take place, commodity to commodity, no money is involved, so no monetary value is given to that. So that also doesn't get included in the, so it underestimates the GDP. And third thing is externalities. There are people, organizations, firms in the society which by their action do some harm or some good to the society. For harm they are not penalized, for doing good they are not awarded or rewarded, because no monetary value is attached to the harm they have caused or the good they have done. And those harms and goods cannot be sold or bought in the market. So what happens? Suppose there is an oil refinery. So they must be earning money. Their output From their output we can deduct, subtract intermediate goods and we can come to their contribution to the GDP. But due to their actions, lot of damage is done to the nearby area like rivers, flora and fauna and people's health also. Those things are not counted. So that way GDP is inflated. If the harm that they have caused, if that is accounted for, GDP will go down, but it is not done. So in that respect GDP is overestimated. Same way there could be organizations which do good for society, so their good is also not included. So if the good is not included, good that they have done, so that way GDP is underestimated, right? So I hope you found it clear to understand. If you remember this, net factor income from abroad GDP is equal to GNP. If we deduct depreciation, it is NNP at market price. If we deduct indirect taxes, subsidies, we get national income, NNP at factor cost, right? Then undistributed profit doesn't go to the households. Net interest paid by the households goes out. Corporate tax doesn't go to the households. Transferred to the household by the government or other agencies. Then we are left with personal income. But out of personal income we pay personal taxes and fines, penalties. Then we are left with personal disposable income, right? In case of any query, please approach me on email ID which will be there at the thumbnail to the video. Thank you very much.